Just a Thought, a show that starts with a simple premise and explores how different people view different subjects. The greatest philosophies, the most revolutionary changes, and the greatest inventions. And all of them started with just a thought.
Good evening. Thank you for waiting on us. We're 8 minutes behind, but we are on time always, as long as we're here present and accounted for. First off, let's get it kicked off with saying hello to everyone. We got Felicia Martinez. What it do? What it do? Thank you for joining us on the 202. The beautiful Deborah Luna. Thank you for joining us. Good evening to ye. And as always, we got Trevor in the background just helping us out. He'll pop up from time to time and make it live. Lana, I'm hoping I'm saying this correct. I have the same illness that Mickey has, where words can definitely be hard. But we want to thank you for joining us in the Luna Callaway Lang. Howdy from the 202 and Wanda Smith. Thank you for joining us this evening for sure. All right, Anna.
Oh, that thing bright. I can't see. I ain't trying to put my face all in the camera. Well, how y'all doing? Like the lovely Yogi G said, we always on time. Well, I'll just say this. Today marks a day for me. Not such a happy day, but I'm gonna make it through. It's the anniversary of my grandmother's death. So August 1st. Sometimes I just want to like disappear from here and not talk to nobody. But I know that we can't sit here and say I just want to start this podcast and then just give up on it by saying I don't want to do nothing today. So we got some good things coming out today. And then the same thing, Yogi G could tell you she wasn't feeling good today, but she's here, present, and ready to discuss some things that I think y'all will enjoy. So Yogi G, you got it.
All right. Well, first and foremost, I want to, since it seems like we got a lot of sisters on here, let me just, to what Anna said, the point of like, honor your body, man, and listen to it when it's talking to you. And after we do this podcast, Yogi G is going to take her own advice and go ahead and tap in and see what's going on. I also am a forever student, and so I want to encourage our sisters where I have you to get this book. If you haven't, it's a great read, Self Care, Black Women. It's by a wonderful author, Adio. Um, but yeah, it's definitely a good read. Um, Anna said, we appreciate you both. And then it says, put the ring light in front of you, facing you for better lighting. That's from Mr. LCT. Yes.
Thank you. So what I'm going to do is shut my camera off while you start, and I'm going to do what he just said.
Great people. In case you didn't know, it is Black August. Like I said, I'm a forever student, so I just learned about this last year and am being more intentional about how I can tap in to this revolutionary month-long observance, and it honors the history of Black resistance, political prisoners, and the ongoing struggle for Black liberation, particularly in the context of the prison system and state violence. And if you guys are not familiar with Black August, it began in 1979 at St. Quentin State Prison in California. It was created by incarcerated members of the Black liberation movement, especially those affiliated with the Black guerrilla family, to commemorate the life and death of George Jackson, a revolutionary author and prison activist who was assassinated by prison guards on August 21st, 1971. What I also learned is through this month-long celebration or month-long observance for us in the Black community is that there were a lot of powerful movements that happened in August. We also have Nat Turner, who led a historic slave rebellion in August of 1831. So then what does the Black August represent? It represents revolutionary education. It says Black August is a time of reflection, study, fasting, discipline, and action. It's rooted in revolutionary education, commemoration of fallen Black freedom fighters, solidarity with political prisoners, resistance to systemic oppression, mass incarceration, and white supremacy. And during this time, it is common practice for people to often fast or practice food discipline. We know we have Sister Taliba who has been educating the people on the practices of fasting. So maybe check her out. Read and study Black revolutionary texts. You can tap into conspiracy theory, and then Sunday with Brother Elliot and Mickey for those things, and then hold political education events for film screenings, write letters of political prisoners, participate in organizing efforts for marches. And why it still matters. Mass incarceration is a continuation of slavery. Black resistance didn't end with the civil rights era, and we know that to be true. If you're experiencing the things that we describe here on the Just a Thought, freedom fighters still sit behind bars for their beliefs. We think about the freedom fighters that were in Angela Davis at one point. She's no longer one of those people. Kudi Shakur. And Black liberation is ongoing work. I know that Anna found a video for us to go into a little more detail, so maybe we can get Trevor to cue that up.
Which one now? The one that actually says it, or do you want the gentleman?
No, the one with the lady. The 4 or whatever that number is.
Yeah, the one that has the actual wording on it.
Okay.
Resistance across the United States. Joining me now is Monifa Bondele. She's a member of the Policy Table Leadership Team at the Movement for Black Lives. Monifa, good to see you as always. Talk to me about Black August and what it means.
Thank you so much for having me. I mean, Black August is so important to all of us today that are part of the Movement for Black Lives and just the larger Black liberation struggle today, because it connects us to our roots. You talked about it. George Jackson was killed in August of 1971. And for nearly a decade, his comrades and people who were incarcerated around the country commemorated his death, studied those writings that you talked about, educated themselves and their families towards Black liberation. And what they found was that August had a deep history of Black rebellions and resistance. You had the Nat Turner rebellions happened in August. The Watts uprisings happened in August. The Gabriel Prosser rebellions happened in August. The Underground Railroad started in August. And so these scholars behind the walls began to piece together a commemoration month that would honor George Jackson, but also Katari Golden, who had helped build the study around Black August, and so many other fallen freedom fighters, George Jackson's brother, Jonathan Jackson. So in 1979, this became a celebration that went throughout the entire California prison system. And by 1980, it became a national commemoration. And it allowed people to really take that time, reflect, to study, to struggle, to make a plan of action. I think the most important thing people can know about Black August is it's not another Black History Month. This is not about celebrating people who we necessarily look up to or are palatable to the larger society. This is specifically about us celebrating our resistors and our incarcerated freedom fighters.
Absolutely. As the sister said, the powerful sister said, most of us get excited about Black History Month. Most of us get excited around Juneteenth. We need you to get excited about August and Black August, to be more specific. And because I know 810's audience is a wonderful scholarly audience, if you want to check out some of the writings of Brother George, I will be checking it out. He has a Soledad Brother, The Prison Letters of George Jackson. And then we have Blood in My Eye, another book that the brother has written. So I just want to encourage everybody to find space to meditate, reflect, and be great, as we need all of our community intact, especially as we're dealing with a lot of the things that you see. I always say, why is the 202 on 810? Because we are dealing with, Trevor and Mickey will say because we're nationwide, and I agree with that too. But I also say because a lot of the things that are happening in the nation's capital, that is the ground zero of everything in the USA are replicative of what's happening in a lot of communities that are elsewhere. And we certainly see a lot of the similarities of what 810 specifically is dealing with happening in the 202. So we're so happy to be on this platform. I want to say hello to Nancy Adams, and Trevor is giving a nice reminder. We like likes too. So if you are here and you are viewing it, smash that like button, please, to let them know we're here and we're speaking up on behalf of the community. All right, Anna, it's on you.
Oh, I was going to let you continue, remember?
Nah, you got to remind me. My head is hurting. I'm proud of you guys.
Okay. Well, we'll double dutch. We'll go into this and then we'll go back. So last week, if we were talking about in the nation's capital, how the RFK Stadium, how they want to build this beautiful RFK Stadium by 2030, and our water pipes aren't even completed. But for some reason, this is more important. So this week, like last week, we told you they would testify. So I want to share with you a testimony because it really talks about our thoughts and stuff. Doesn't mean that the thoughts of a dear friend of mine's, Kimon, doesn't mean it's always my thought, but I tend to agree with him while he does this. So, Trevor, can you put the video on with the guy with the glasses, with the yellow shirt?
DC has over 40 bookstores, and for over 25 years, no bookstores east of the river. Ward 8 now has 2, and Ward 7 is now the only ward in the nation's capital without a bookstore. Despite the fact that there's a direct link between crime, violence, and illiteracy, DC has 2 times the national illiteracy rate. This rush deal for the RFK Stadium with public funds is projected to break ground and be completed by 2030. Yet DC Water has been changing the goalposts on the deadline to replace lead pipes in this city and now currently has set it at 2037. Let's be clear. We all know where the last of those lead pipes are. We all know who are most likely not to have water filters in their homes. But know this, lead pipes not only are detrimental to the cognitive development of children, it also contributes to violent behavior. So the city has determined that they can secure a deal and build a new stadium at least 7 years before it can even provide clean and safe drinking water to all of its residents. We truly need a revolution of values. I have listened to countless testimonies today wanting to see the NFL return to DC, but this is not a tailgate party. Most of them have not even read the details of this deal. They are distracted by the bread and circus nostalgia of football. But just like Councilmember Kenya McDuffie said, this is bigger than football. This is about the best equitable deal for all DC residents. If the NFL wants to play, they need to pay. In order to achieve that, a racial equity lens needs to be applied. The Office of Racial Equity should be consulted in this deal. 50% of the RFK campus development should go to the Douglas Community Land Trust to ensure that true affordable housing at 30% of residents' income is delivered now and not just promised by 2040. We should cut at least 50% of the planned parking development and subject the designs to the approval of those surrounding residents. We should instead invest in WMATA, and who should be included to increase metro access to alleviate traffic and pollution to the area. Socialism for the rich and capitalism for the poor is not the recipe for community development when you are transferring the collective wealth of working class residents to billionaires. Stan Mays, a longtime DC resident and business owner, owns 2 homes in DC and was struck with vacant property taxes on his second home under renovation, ultimately amounted to $100,000. To pay this sum, he took from him and his wife's retirement fund so he could preserve their dream. Nevertheless, the oppressive tax assessment reoccurred again, costing his family another $100,000 with more penalties to come. The notion that this DC resident, who is risk of losing his second home due to punitive property taxes, will pay more than billionaire Commanders owner Josh Harris, who is not only exempt from property taxes, but will receive billions from taxpayers, is both immoral and insane. Just like Dan Snyder, who said, now former racist name, just 2 seconds, we changed the name. He said he would not change the name, and you can put it in all caps. And we know what happened. I'm here today to say that change may be inevitable, but simply continue to go through the change. We're here to redirect the change, and this rush deal needs to change. Thank you.
Well, you heard it right there. Exactly, pretty much my thoughts. all I kept saying is, if this deal goes through. So last week we told you, I think we said three to four people were undecided. And so I don't know if you got that. Oh no, that image wasn't working, Trevor.
It works. It's just
Not a good image.
Here we are. Yeah, they lost a lot of pixels.
So in this image, we look at the opposed and we look at the ones that support. But before we go to this is today. They actually voted today, and these were the people that said no. Nadeau from Ward 1, Fruman from Ward 3, which is actually Georgetown. I was shocked about that, but kind of excited that he did say no. And then Robert White, who is our at-large councilman. So we're going to go to the next video real quick because my councilman is Zachary Parker. And before he voted yes, he would say he was going to vote it no. So I guess he must have got what he wanted. But this is just a quick video of him getting in a heated debate with the mayor. And this is my councilman. Actually, this is Yogi G and me, both of our councilmen. And it's the one with the DC mayor, the one that says DC Mayor Bowser.
Oh.
They have the same economic value. The stadium construction is worth over $2 billion. And that is going to have a PLA on it with only carve outs for $15 million or less work. That is all union.
I get it.
$2 billion. Okay, so what the commitment that you made when you left my office was for the adjacent hotel to have.
And then I followed up just for clarification, because my understanding was for hotels. And then I thought we were on the same page. And this is why it feels like sometimes the goalpost is moving.
I feel that way right now.
Okay. And did I not share that my understanding is that this should apply to all hotels?
But you did. You clarified that after all of us were in a room and we talked about the adjacent hotel. But I understand the clarification. I appreciate it. But it did move. But I want to say this, council member, because we have to strike a balance. And what we've tried to do is strike a balance. And we have that opportunity because we're talking about a whole campus.
I get it.
And fully, if this is, I'm forgetting the total construction number now, over $4 billion worth of construction, we have the opportunity to have a PLA on the biggest portion. And so now what we're talking about is maybe it's a $60 million hotel, maybe it's a smaller hotel. I think only really one is envisioned right now, and that's the commitment that is being made here. But to suggest that the union labor, and I know you're kind of not agreeing that fewer DC residents work on union jobs, that's a fact. But I know you're not agreeing, excuse me, I know you're not agreeing that CBEs can't participate in those jobs. That's a fact. It's a fact.
But we're being disingenuous because
no, I'm not. I'm not attempting to be. But when we discuss
this, the reason why in the commitment letter, there is now a threshold percentage that says 51% of the labor participation has to be Washingtonians is because we've had this discussion. I agree with you fully.
Right.
We want district residents to benefit from this job.
This is a trigger, right? You meet 50%, you have a PLA. You have a PLA, you meet, so we need to figure that out for that one.
No, but I mean, I get that we're moving the goalpost again, but I just want to square the point that you just made that it runs counter, because you're giving the talking point that these jobs are not for district residents.
Don't disrespect me like
that,
Mr. Parker. I don't do talking points. I'm giving you facts.
We fixed the talking point that was just provided about these won't be for district residents by putting 51% in the commitment letter. That's the reason why we did that. And so I get that that is a common refrain about labor in this DC context. And we reject that.
In what context?
In our local
context. In the DC context, that's where we live.
That's
who I
point.
represent.
So maybe we're talking past each other.
What context are you talking about?
I'll bring the temperature down. I think we're talking past each other. My point is,
I think you are trying to suggest that if I am arguing for DC residents being hired and DC businesses being used, that some DC context is illegitimate. That is disrespectful to the people we represent.
So that may work well in this room. My point is, we talked about this yesterday at length, You and I had, I think, 2 or 3 conversations in the evening yesterday. So let's level set with the public. This is not a new conversation. And my point is, because I recognize the validity of the concern that these jobs need to go to district residents, we've already addressed that by saying the majority need to go to district.
We might have addressed that. We might have
So
addressed
then why
that.
do we then revert back to the talking point that it may not go to district residents if we've already put language in the commitment that it must, in order for these things to apply?
Mr. Parker, if past is prologue, those commitments have been made previously and not met on our projects. Not on the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge, not at Nats Park, and not at the hospital. That's a fact.
If we are putting it in the language of the law, and that was going to be another one of my questions, but I'm out of time, I expect that is what we're going to hold our labor partners to.
So I want to level set, because I don't want anybody to be left with the impression that I don't keep my word. You left my office. You said that you would support labor PLA on the adjacent hotel with the stadium.
And then shortly.
And then you left. I don't know what happened, but then you kind of retraded it with us after I had communicated. Well, actually, we were all together.
We were all together.
And that is what we communicated to the chairman and others, and that's why it's in the letter that you see. That's why. So
missing in that timeline is that we also had 3 additional phone conversations about this very thing. I don't want to be on the opposite side here. My point is, I think we are fighting for the same thing, which is district residents to benefit from this deal.
Well, we are fighting for fairness. That's
right.
What I'm fighting for.
That's
that
what I'm
doesn't
fighting
mean
for.
all PLA on the entire campus.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Councilmember.
That is what you're talking about.
Okay.
That's what you said.
The way the clock works, or at least the way I use the clock, if you say something and there's like 10 seconds left, whoever's at the table gets the next 2, 3, 4 minutes, but your time's up. So.
Understood.
Now, there is another round, although a few members, and I was told hearsay that you were one who thought maybe the second round could be 5 minutes.
I think it should be shorter.
All right, we'll see.
But thank you.
I'm glad we're all having fun, and I'm glad we're using the goalpost analogy because that is, I think, relevant to football.
Yes.
So next in the lineup.
You can stop it. Go ahead.
Mr. Parker's got to be afraid because, Bowser's going to come take his princess.
Hey, Trevor, man, listen, I've been explaining this ever since we got the opportunity to start on this podcast that Muriel Bowser, more affectionately known in my life, as you saw Trevor's nice pick, is known as King Cooper Bowser, is basically trying to make a legacy for herself. And she's coming up on the closure of her term. We have a new election coming up in 2026 for a mayor, and we don't know whether or not she's able to run or if she's running again. And I like to say, as Sean Sims said, see her face. And Sean, we see her face a lot. It is definitely something that we have gotten used to. Her disgust, her disdain, when she feels like people are not like bowing down to her title. She has refused to like even talk on certain things. Like when we had it, I can go on a rant with her. But the bottom line is that while this seems like a project that's going to be beneficial to us as a city, it is a 30-year term before we'll see any benefits from what is happening. What we do know is that the money that they're taking to invest into this deal is coming out of our budget now. And we need all of those things because we're currently right behind this act of them passing the ability for them to start this project on the RFK Stadium. Our mayor also proposed what is called the Rental Act, which is going to be highly detrimental to a lot of low-income residents, even myself. I'm dealing with housing instability here in DC. That's why I'm passionately speaking about the deficit that's going to come from this project, because we can't even find places for people who are working citizens, who are looking to be a part of civilization in the District of Columbia and remain citizens, to be able to do so, because her developer friends are pricing us out. or they're not even creating family housing. But that's another show for another day. Go ahead, Anna. Oh, yeah. Sean said, did you say it'll take 30 years before you can see a return? That's ludicrous. And that's what I said. That's what I said. 30 years? Do you know how many generations we'll lose out on in 30 years waiting for job opportunities that may or may not give us living wage here in the District of Columbia? I don't know if you've been following this show, but we said that it would cost you $200K just to live comfortably in the District of Columbia, where you have the native district residents like myself who have gone through the school system, have that was supposed to be for the change that are coming from Columbia, have not, per our data, is making anywhere from 43 to 46K. Make it make sense. So when you tell people that this deal is going to bring affordable housing, affordable to whom? You're not going to put people that are living in the hood in this brand new luxurious near this brand new luxurious stadium. They don't even want the kids over there by the harbor that they just did, Navy Yard. We showed y'all how they just told us at 8:00 today, if you got your kid over anywhere near that waterfront or anywhere near the Navy Yard, they're going to the youth detention center for you to pick them up. And not only will you have to pick them up, but you could pay a fine, $300 to $500 fine, because your child is out there. This is what we're dealing with from a Black mayor. And as you saw on our panel, we have a predominantly Black council. So please don't get it twisted. Talk about taking advantage of people's blissful ignorance. It is all up in this deal. And I have to say on Yogi's rant that I'm upset that my people care more about waving burgundy and gold than worrying about and bringing them home, than worrying about you and your generations of family having a home to celebrate in. While they're coming into DC, you'll be finding somewhere to drive from to come to DC to see this team that you just cut your nose to spite your face, as my grandmother said. Yep, B. Marie, exactly. And welcome. Thank you for joining us. And Winston, thank you for pushing that out and helping the people to know that we out here. Isn't DC mostly Black anyway, if I'm not mistaken? Well, Sean, it was maybe a couple of years ago, but not anymore. It is gentrified capital right now. You can find people in places that you thought were Black that are light as the sun right now, walking their dogs at 3 a.m. in the safety of the arms of the DCPD. And so I don't want to take up too much time. You know, my soapbox get kicked up real quick. I get angry. I already got a headache, so I'm gotta go ahead. I'm gonna call us with attention. Go ahead.
All right. Sorry, I'm wearing my Washington Commander shirt. Little glasses on. Anyway, so someone asked what a PLA is. It's a project labor agreement. However, every time they build something in this city, they keep saying that they're going to make sure that over 50% of Washingtonians will be working there. And it never happens, which you saw the mayor said. So what you hear our councilman making sure that Washingtonians will be able to work there. Or get, some of the contracts or vice versa. But if you listen to a couple, I think we played it last week, it's not guaranteed. So she's talking from both sides of her head. Basically, it's on the contract. He's trying to make sure that it's law abiding, that they just can't bring everyone out to come in. Because basically, they will come in, they won't hire none of us, and then they're not paying into the city. And as you heard him say, Camone, a dear friend of mine, basically these people will be ousted out of the community, which you saw the map in our last show. So that's what the project labor agreement is. And I pray so make a long story short, they did the first vote today. And the first vote, we got 3 people that said no. My councilman dug in and said yes. I don't know why, but he did. I'm not a huge fan of my councilman. He does good sometimes, and then sometimes he doesn't, but that's just my thought on him. So, Trevor, can you put the video on with our at-large council member? I think the picture has a microphone in front of him with Channel 9. This is before the vote today, and then we'll tell you what the vote was.
Is that 33 Alpha, the guy,
Yes.
the skinny dude? Gotcha.
Comes to this deal, needs to change.
Residents are saying pretty consistently they'd love to have the team back, but they got to make sure it happens in a way that is in the best interest of the city, and most people aren't seeing that yet. And so myself and a number of council members are talking to the team saying we're trying to get to yes, but we need them to work with us, and that's not happening right now. I'm hopeful that they will come back and try to work with us.
Work with us. We heard from Council Chair Phil Mendelson saying they've been a great partner in this. They're doing everything they can. So what does work with us look like in your opinion?
The chairman did a great job getting revenue to the city. The deal that came to us had no guaranteed revenue going to the city. That you just can't do that to our city. And so the chairman moved it a long way. But here's the deal. I've seen 3 stadiums built, and I see us still having the same problem. Displacement, school's not good enough. We don't have enough money to help people like the Tower Street homeowners. I'm saying we've got to solve some problems for people today, and that's what I want the team to help us with. And there are other concerns like the amount of housing, the timeline for housing. Everybody's concerned about the stadium. What about the people? What about the people who are being displaced? What about the needs of the city today? So that's what I'm trying to get us to, and I hope we can get there.
All right, so we have a big vote on Friday, and if nothing changes in this, where do you stand? What do you do?
If nothing changes, I'm a no.
And he kept his word. He voted no today. And I want to celebrate him. He is actually literally a DC native. And so it's good when you have a DC native that has been voted and elected and is really standing on his word that he had put out there. He did run for mayor, I think in the last time, right? He ran for mayor. But you know how they always do. Someone gets in the middle, the third person. And when the third person comes in, the votes go the opposite way. One thing I will say in DC so far, quote me if I'm wrong, Yogi G, all the mayors have been native Washingtonians.
Nah.
Who's
not all of them have been native Washingtonians?
Sharon Pratt.
I think Sharon Pratt and Anthony Williams.
Oh, Anthony Williams.
I mean, native Washingtonian, right, is relatively like. We can go all day on that. But as far as people who were born and raised here, I think Mary Bowser, Vincent Gray, I'm not sure about Fenty. He may have also been born and raised here. But the rest of them, even down to Marion Barry, was not born and raised here. So as I said, DC is a transient city. It is the nation's capital. It is a place where most people want to come to elevate their resumes. As Mickey likes to joke about Liddell. Coming from the DMV area, not to be mistaken about being DC. So yeah, I do also want to talk about like. Go ahead, Trevor.
We're giving her back to you. Even if she's not yours, you guys can just take her.
No, Trevor. No.
We'll take the Bowser. We'll take the Bowser. It's fine because we'll just figure out how to keep her out of politics in Flint. But you can have Liddell.
Never happened.
She will take over Ward 8. She'll have the biggest mansion in Ward 8.
Bowser will run circles around Neely with the amount of evil that she'll get going. And if you thought that, like Sean said, so y'all farther ahead of getting blacks out than Flint. Absolutely. And let me be specific. Poor blacks, middle income blacks. Not them affluent ones that are sitting on the front telling us that this is about to be the best deal ever that we're getting, you know. But don't get me started on those people either, because we only got an hour and it's already 7:41. We're going to come back and talk about that part. But yeah, our council member.
I'm sorry, B. Marie said it sounds like Flint. Yep.
And once again, the only reason that we're elevating this is because DC has home rule, but we don't have rule. We are a city that has been gifted the illusion of democracy through having a mayor and having a council and having ANC commissioners. But when it comes down to it and our budget has to be passed, we have to send it up to Congress and they tell us yay or nay, which is why this is a big thing, because we just lost out on one billion of our funding in the District of Columbia, and we were in an emergency state. We even had our council members going up there telling them we need these back because we're getting our Medicaid cut, we're getting our SNAP benefits cut, our schools need this, our housing needs that. And now all of a sudden you have found this magical money to make sure that a 30-year project gets started while we're still struggling in those departments that I named. Mainly housing availability. We have crumbling housing here in the District of Columbia. And I know a lot of people love to come to DC, you love to come and see the monuments and everything like that. Don't give those people your money. We don't see it. We don't use it. Come over to the South Side while it's still the South Side. Do a little shopping over there. Come talk to the people over there, because after a while, you're going to be hearing our stories in a museum. Because that's what a lot of our leaders have moved to. They're not motivating the people anymore to stand up and resist in the spirit of Black August. They're motivating us to start logging down our history and making sure that we got little placards up around the city to tell them what used to be DC, how we used to be Chocolate City, not how we can maintain and retain being the Chocolate City. Go ahead, Anna. Oh, Trevor said Anthony Williams, Vince Gray, Muriel Bowser were not born in DC. And there you have it. We don't have no sons and daughters of DC. Where? Especially not the ones that are dealing with the things that we're impacted with. That's going to make sense for everybody here. But once again, that's Yogi's rant. Go ahead, Anna.
You just flipped it back to me. It's just depressing listening to it. So as you see, the vote went. 3 people went against it, and they voted. Pretty much all they needed was 8 votes. They got the 8 votes. So now we're to round 2. I can't remember when we do our show next week. We should possibly have an answer, but we're asking for your prayers. We are literally asking you for prayers, because as you can see in Kamon's testimony, Ward 7, one of our poorest neighborhoods, will feel the effect. I say the tsunami of this stadium. In one of the interviews with our mayor, her concern was, well, would you rather have an RFK Stadium standing up, just deteriorating with all of that waste just going to waste? And I'm saying to myself, like, we haven't even built enough affordable housing. Now, that's a whole nother show on affordable housing, because what is affordable to someone is not always affordable to another person. And we're getting to the point where it's no longer 30% of your income. It's not even 50% of your income. Now they're looking at you at 80% of your income. And with all these new things that are coming into play, who in their rightful mind go to work for 40 hours and you talking about almost 80% of your pay will go for you to have a place to stay. So on that note, get ready for going back to multi-generational households, where you're going to need, if grandma's still around, aunties and uncles, brothers and siblings, and cousins to actually live with each other to survive in DC. It actually would be nice, but necessarily we're in a new time when most of the time, half of us are on our own. Family lives far away. But in the nation's capital, like we said, if you ain't making that 250 plus or 200 up, you're feeling the effects of this city. Go ahead, Yogi G. I don't know if you want to go to Johnson.
Well, I guess I'll end us on Dr. Umar Johnson. But I do want to touch on also what is happening simultaneously while they're elevating the stadium. Our council also had its first vote, which passed, for what's called the Rental Act. It's the Rebalancing Expectations for Neighbors, Tenants, and Landlords Act of 2025, which was proposed by our lovely King Cooper Bowser mayor. And so what this Rental Act proposes is that we'll have faster evictions, Public safety cases allows eviction if someone in the unit is arrested, not just convicted for a violent or dangerous crime based on the judge's preliminary determination. Non-payment cases, the pre-filing notice to tenants is cut from 30 days to 10 days, and courts must hold hearings within 20 days of filing, accelerating eviction timelines significantly. All that while they just zeroed out our funding for the ERAP program, which is our emergency rental program, assistance program. So you don't even have a way to even try to get assistance before you are expedited from 30 to 10 days on being evicted into the streets, where we currently have 2,265 families that were receiving rapid rehousing fundings that have been exacerbated. So now they're not even housed. Then they changed the TOPA Act, which is the Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act, which could have helped families to be able, in cases where you have slumlords or people who are do not want to be landlords anymore. It gave us the option as renters to be able to come together to buy the building instead of it being sold from under you. They have now made changes to that, where we have all this development that's happening in the city, and that basically newly constructed residential buildings will be exempt from TOPA for 15 years, down from the 25 years that was originally proposed by the mayor. An exemption also applies if a buyer commits to keeping 51% of the units affordable. Once again, affordable is just a word that they throw out there to trick us, that makes us think that includes you. When you have a city that has a vast amount of people who are coming in making $136K, that will be affordable to them, just to be clear. ERAP reforms removes mandatory eviction stay during an application process and tightens attestation rules. Sorry, the words are hard. But what that means is what I just told you. The ERAP, if you were applying for emergency rental assistance program, that would hold your eviction case while you were being approved or denied. Now they have removed that. So you can still be applying for ERAP and still be meeting those streets in the end. So I just, when you see...
But she justifies it, Yolanda. The mayor said that the poor people are not paying rent and they should go through this because no one is paying rent according to her.
You also have a school system that has 4 decades, per a UCLA study, of being subpar. It has not produced the scholars and the builders and all of these things that they're thinking that DC is supposed to be having thriving in their streets to be able to do. And if that was the case, then we would still have the continued glorious title of Chocolate City, don't you think? But, one day we'll dive into what DC education looks like, right? And once again, the whole point of this conversation is to debunk the myth that DC is this progressive Black space that you can just come, and it's like New York, you can make it. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. No, we are struggling. As a matter of fact, new challenge, help Yogi G get up out of here. I could tell this raggedy ass story from anywhere, but I can't make it here because jobs are not available. We are a federal city that has just had a ton of our people laid off, which means that even if I want to work at a hotel, I've got the probability of being against about 20 people in the application that have way more credentials that overqualify them, but will definitely be the first ones of accountability and somebody that is deemed as hireable over a person such as myself. You know what I mean? Like, we fighting over registers, a job for registers at McDonald's at this point in DC because of the layoffs, because of the orange man in the Capitol that is running ragged over our life, where we have taxation without representation. I don't have no more. My blood pressure is going through the roof at this point.
Well, you could put on Omar, and then after Omar goes on, give it an explanation, and then we will be finished.
I'll bet. Yeah. So, Dr. Umar Johnson, I know people have heard him in the streets. He's most famously known for Snow Bunnies Never, Black Queens Forever. But in this case, I beg of you, listen to the message. Don't judge the messenger. And Mickey and Brother Elliot and often similar guests often talk about this. And I say this in the chat all the time. Same playbook, different area code. He talks about Jamaica and how the Chinese have gone over there and have basically monopolized a lot of the land over there. So we'll talk more about it in this little bit of time. But go ahead, Trevor, if you could cue that up.
No, not at all.
Even the Caribbean?
Not even in the Caribbean. In fact, when I was in Jamaica, I keynoted the Garvey celebration last summer, Ocho Rios. The Chinese pretty much own Jamaica. I mean, the Jamaican government is giving them concessions, land concessions. They're building hotels, beach resorts. They're building 2 schools for the Japanese, for the Jamaicans. And what the Jamaicans have to give them in turn is the right to certain lands, the right to certain waterways. And if it doesn't stop, Jamaica, ironically, the land of Marcus Garvey and Bob Marley, will be the first Chinese colony in the Caribbean.
Wow.
It's getting bad. And you know why it's happening? Because the black bourgeoisie leadership in both Africa and the Caribbean, they don't have to live with the consequences of the economic decisions they make. So if I'm the president of Jamaica, okay, and China says, listen, we're going to give you $1 million in retirement. We're going to build you a retirement home, but we want this, this, and this. And you can loan as much money as you want. You can borrow as much money from the Bank of China as you want. I'm going to be set by the time I leave office. But what about my nation? Jamaica will be struggling for the next 50 and 75 years because of bad economic decisions from selfish leaders today. And that's the problem in Africa, and it's the problem in the Caribbean islands.
No, that's true. I remember, I love going to Anguilla, and a couple of years ago, just one of the guys on the island was like, the Chinese taking over everything here.
Yeah.
I clicked it the wrong one.
So yeah, it's like what Dr. Umar said, right? We got a lot of people that are making decisions for us that will never have to deal with the impact of the decisions that they're making on our behalf. And if
I'm sorry, I remember that about B. Marie when I first met her. She loves Dr. Umar, so you don't put her. She's a fan, not a fan. She's a avid follower of him.
Yeah, I mean, once again, the man is the man, but the message is still the message. And it basically is saying that you got to start doing your research, man. You got to start opening up books. Speaking of which, we love books here at A10. We do.
I got mine right here.
Yeah, Chocolate City. You want to know the real deal about DC and how we went from this to now what's stressing my mind out of being a capital nation of gentrification? Read a book, man, or audio book. Reading and touching pages ain't for everybody, but it is something to do. And remember, it's Black August, man. Do something with your time. Stop letting people control your mind and taking their word for it. There we go. Trevor got it for you. It's on Audible. I didn't even know that. I'm going to have to switch it up. Because I'm going
I'm on Audible because I'm reading Black Ass Fuck right now.
Right.
But literally the book is called that. I hear you, Sean. Of course, I'm not a huge fan of Dr. Omar, but in every person that leads and in every person that talks, you can get the good, the bad, and the ugly out of everyone, pretty much. There's just some thoughts that we can agree with and some thoughts that some of us might not agree with.
If you guys don't mind me popping in here for a second, I don't know who that Mr. Johnson is. Yeah, but he is absolutely right. So China's been doing that for years. It's called their Belt and Road Initiative, and they're mainly targeting countries in Africa, 1 or 2 countries in the Caribbean, and hitting up Southeast Asia, Southwest Asia nonstop. They lend large sums of money for infrastructure projects at exorbitant rates, which they allow everyone to take these loans, whereas like the World Economic Fund has several stipulations for you to do these. China doesn't have those stipulations. It's just you pay it, or we come in and we take everything in your country that goes roads, airway, or like airports, ports, farmland, anything and everything that your country needs to exist. And by doing that, it's almost like a soft colonization. So I don't, like I said, I don't know who Dr. Johnson is. However, he is absolutely correct on that. And I'll attest to it. I've been screaming it for years now. I mean, they're doing basically the same thing in the U.S. with all of our farmland. They're just doing it a slightly different way. They're doing direct buy rather than repossession.
Thank you, Trevor. Listen, man, I am just a person, a ghetto scholar, if you will, that enjoys reading and understanding. I made a determination in my life that I don't want to die dumb. And so this is my love letter to the world, to be able to use my voice in this space at 810, to be able to say, hey, man, you don't have to die dumb. There are tools out here for people who live before you to help you understand what you're going through now, because what we know is that it's the same playbook, different players, and different area codes. And while we sitting here worried about line dancing and fan dancing and whose wig is what and all of these things that don't matter, other cultures are getting ready for what is happening ahead. So why don't we take this time collectively to be as one and find ways that we can come together and build community instead of tearing each other down? That is just my personal belief, not directed towards any particular person or thing. I'm just tired of seeing us as Black people go at each other with no results other than us cutting each other down faster than what the system is already doing. Right. Always focus on the message. William Marie said it best. And also get those library cards, okay? You ain't got to buy from Jeff Bezos' land and send him into into the rocket a couple more times. You can go to the library while it still exists, because I'm pretty sure that's next on Agent Orange's list of extermination. So I don't know. It's now 7:59.
Yeah, but we started late. You guys got 8 minutes left.
Oh, thank you, Trevor.
You got time.
We got a little time. So, I mean,
I don't know. I think my computer's going in and out like always in this bunker that I'm in. Did he just say we got an extra 7 minutes?
He said we got 7 minutes.
Okay, 7 minutes it is. So I'm just going to leave you with a thought because, I'm reading the chat. And the whole reason why is not just DC, but just a thought. So it's like, it's a thought. Like when I'm doing this and I'm reading and I'm going through this, my thoughts are never to isolate a group from another group. It's never been that, but it's just for us to keep our wheels spinning, for us to keep our minds open, because with the way the world is going, they're erasing everything that we're reading, everything that we're learning. And so my thought is today, before we close out, is do you think that this is always about race? I just want to leave that out there. Do you always think everything is about race? Not for you to answer right now, for you to take back and just listen, just hear. And then next week when I come back, I'll come back with some things that I've learned, how our minds can be altered to think that everything is set up like that for us to separate from each other. Go ahead, Yogi G.
I just want to remind the people that we are an interactive podcast, and we love having questions and tasks and challenges on how we can bring our platform up through you and what you're interested in knowing. So if you send it to 810, they'll make sure that we get it, and we'll do our due diligence to make sure that we report out on it. Outside of that, I'm just grateful for having the opportunity. I generally don't, just money. It just so happens that certain folks have been set up to be poor for generations. I ain't want to top on to that. I wanted to let it linger in the air, Trevor, but I read that comment, and so I happen to agree that racism is a construct that America has created to keep us divided, to not realize that we're all getting screwed by the same orange in this case. And another reference book, if you don't believe me, you can read Caste by Isabel Wilkerson. That's another great book out there to help you understand really the construction of what we're dealing with here, not just in America, but just worldwide. Outside of that, well, I appreciate that we have these extra minutes. If nobody else has anything to say before the, I almost said the C word, before the congregation, I don't have anything left to say. It's Friday. I hope that your weekend is well. I hope that you find some safe space and learn a little more about Black August. Have a moment of reflection, as I will, and remember to check on your health. And if you don't remember, that book that I started off with is called Self Care, Black Women. Speak specifically to Black women, but I gather that all women can use this kind of information. So I'm gonna leave you with that.
I think my internet went out. So
you're still here.
Yeah.
Okay, because it'd be going in and out. I can't wait till I get Verizon in this bad boy. Just like that image we got for Just a Thought, that brick wall, the internet is not piercing through. But I enjoyed this evening, and I'm gonna have a lot to think on. So I am going to ask for your prayers. This little weekend is going to be a little hard. Just shout out to my grandma. As a memory of her, she passed away on August 1st. It's my church anniversary. And then it leads me up to Monday. It will be 4 years my mother has left this place. So I had to do this show. I didn't want to stay home and say I didn't do it. But for anyone out here who is dealing with death dates, which is a lot of people I know, I've been seeing even in the chat this morning with Beverly Biggs' grandson. I think today would have been 4 years old. Just prayers for everyone. And again, I don't live in Flint, but make the right choice. Do not let Neely get in that third ward. That's all I'm going to say.
I like what Deborah Lewin said, united we stand and divided we fall. And that's how we're going to end it today. We look forward to seeing you next Friday, same time, hopefully on time. But if not, every time it's on time, as long as we in the space and you can see our face and we can hear your voice in the chat. All right, peace, fam.